Constitutions. They sound boring, like something your dad would drone on about. But hold on. They're actually important, like finding out your local Arby's has the meat rotisserie working again. Basically, a constitution is a set of rules for a country. Think of it as an instruction manual, but for running a whole nation, not just any nation, yours. Why should you care? Because constitutions impact you every day. They set up how the government works, what rights you have, and all sorts of other stuff. Without a constitution, it's basically the Wild West out there, politically speaking. And nobody wants that, except maybe cowboys, and even then they probably have some rules they go by. So, what makes a good constitution? Well, it's got to have a few key ingredients. First up, the rule of law. This means that nobody is above the law, not even the president, unless the law specifically says the president is above it, in which case, bad constitution. Second, separation of powers. We're talking different branches of government, each with their own job, like the legislative branch makes laws, the executive branch enforces them, and the judicial branch interprets them. It's like a recipe for democracy, but instead of flour and sugar, you've got checks and balances. Next up, limited government. This means the government can't just do whatever it wants. It has to follow the rules, just like everyone else. Imagine a world where the government could come into your house and eat all your snacks without asking. A good constitution prevents that, hopefully. And finally, protection of rights. A constitution should guarantee your basic rights like freedom of speech, religion, and the right to bear arms, if you're into that sort of thing. One of the most important things a constitution does is limit government power. It does this in a few ways. First, it clearly defines what the government can and can't do. Think of it like a restraining order, but for tyranny. Second, checks and balances. Remember those separate branches of government? Well, they're not just there to look pretty. They're designed to keep each other in check, like a really complicated game of rock, paper, scissors. Third, protecting individual rights. The Constitution acts as a shield, protecting you from government overreach. And if the government tries to infringe on your rights, well, that's where the judicial branch comes in. They can strike down laws that violate the Constitution. It's like a game of legal whack-a-mole, but with fewer moles and more gavels. And lastly, amendment processes, because even constitutions need updates sometimes. The amendment process allows for changes to be made, but it's usually pretty difficult. Think of it like trying to change your phone plan, but instead of dealing with a customer service representative, you're dealing with the entire government. So, what's the point of all this? Why bother with constitutions and all their complicated rules? Well, it all boils down to fairness, equality, and accountability. A good constitution ensures that everyone is treated equally under the law, that the government is held accountable for its actions, and that the rights of individuals are protected. It's like having a really good roommate agreement, but for an entire country. Sure, it might not be perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than the alternative, and that's the truth, folks.